The next unit we are going to explore is the unit about the taxonomy of knowledge. A major distinction which is very helpful when you're doing research in learning and instruction is the distinction between what is called declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge. Declarative knowledge is basically knowledge that Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands. Knowledge that 2 times 2 makes 4. So it is a kind of knowledge which you can reproduce, which you can put into words, and which refers to something which you may find in an encyclopedia, or which you may find in a diary, as long as it has to do with your personal experiences. The knowledge that yesterday you saw a very nice movie named Manchester by the Sea, for instance. Procedural knowledge is knowledge knowing how to play the piano, knowing how to cycle, knowing how to swim, knowing how to perform some sort of arithmetical operation. This is the kind of knowledge which has been learned by heart, for instance, or it is a kind of knowledge in which you actually carry out various strategies. Okay, well, we are going to in some detail now about these two types of knowledge, declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge. As I already said, declarative knowledge, the knowledge that may be again further divided into knowledge about events and knowledge about facts or rules or theories or propositions or whatever, semantic, episodic memory as it is called, and semantic memory. These two types of memories are really distinguishable because they have various functions. Your personal history is a very important source of knowledge and a source of orientation and a stable position in your own life, in your own immediate environment. The events which you can reproduce, which you can tell, the stories you can tell, etc., etc. These are stored into memory and are reproducible. Apart from the story, the words, you can also think of sounds, of images, of smells. So all senses play a part in episodic memory, the diary of events. And you may easily recognize that when you think of the smells which were associated with your, for instance, primary school. The gym, for instance, or the clothing room where you have this smell of sweat, which you easily recognize when you are in a situation. Again, in a sort of clothing room where you experience the same smell, and that reminds you immediately, of your own a time when you were a kid in primary school. Now, so these smells are in fact a very important source, as are also, of course, the sounds which do remember you, which also easily reproduce emotions which were associated with a particular, let's say, sound you heard, a song you heard as a kid, etc., etc. So this episodic memory is a very important part of human memory, and as you may know, all kinds of dementia have to do with the fact that immediate experiences are no longer stored in episodic memory. There is this very, very, let's say, sad, story about a conductor at the BBC, one of the BBC orchestras, who also suffered from acute dementia, and he was able to perform, to conduct his orchestra in various pieces. had acquired throughout his career. So he was able to conduct the orchestra and lead the orchestra through this particular piece of music. But when you saw him in a room where his wife entered, and where she left and re-entered the room, he greeted her as if she had not been there for, let's say, a couple of hours or whatever. So was unable to store that particular new event in his episodic memory, which was of course very sad. Now, the semantic memory is all we know, as we are supposed to know that, all kinds of facts in history exist, and all kinds of facts in literature exist, and in the sciences. Well, all we learn at school may be stored into semantic memory. Facts, concepts, rules, propositions, theories. So we can think of isolated facts like, the fact that Amsterdam is the capital of the Netherlands. But you can also think of rules, let's say the rule which exists in algebra, where you have to, let's say, carry out a complex multiplication according to a particular number of steps. And these steps are, let's say, embedded in a rule. You can think of Ohm's law, of all kinds of laws which exist in science and other disciplines. And we may end up with theories like Freud's psychoanalysis theory, or Freud's personality theory, and other theories. So then we arrive at complex networks, in fact, of simple facts and concepts which are organized in this large theory. So that has all to do with semantic memory, declarative knowledge, which can easily put into words and can be reproduced whenever somebody asks you a question in a quiz or whatever situation you are in. Okay, now let's continue with procedural knowledge. Procedural knowledge is knowledge how to swim, all kinds of sports, but also, of course, all, cognitive skills like multiplication I already mentioned, or other, complex algorithms you can easily complete simply by the fact that you have learned them by heart and have practiced them so often. So these kinds of skills may not be easily reproducible. So whenever you ask, somebody how do you do, how do you perform, how do you actually ride on a bicycle? Well, then it might be quite difficult to explain what you do when you are riding on a bicycle. How you keep your equilibrium, for instance, your balance. It's not easy to describe that. There are also all kinds of, unconscious movements, corrections you make in order to stay balanced on these two wheels. Therefore, I think you might say that skills are not so easily put into words. That doesn't go for strategies, which are also part of procedural knowledge. Step-by-step programs to complete cognitive or motor actions. Let's say the strategy of doing, going to the market and get the stuff, the things you have put on a list, and or to a shop in order to collect your things which you need in order to, let's say, cook some dish or whatever. So then you have made a list, and you actually go to the shop or to the market, and then you collect all the items you have put on your list. And that's a strategy. But also writing a paper might be a strategy, collecting ideas, making an outline, organizing the ideas into a sort of extended outline, and then starting to write each of the particular ideas or paragraphs or whatever you have put into your outline, and then gradually, arriving at the paper you can hand in or you can send into a journal or whatever. So these are also strategies. Strategies are, as Paris and his colleagues have formulated it, skills under considerations. So the step-by-step performance, playing a particular piece of music, for instance, the step-by-step performance is the conscious and very effortful performance of this particular piece. You read and you play, you read and you play. So you actually steer your fingers in a very conscious way in order to put these notes which are there on the score on your piano or whatever instrument you are playing. Gradually you may automatize this, let's say, these steps in order to combine them into a sort of program which can be performed automatically without very much attention, but which cannot easily be changed. So that is the gradual shift from conscious skills to conscious strategies to automatic skills. And that is, of course, a gradual process which John Anderson has been studying very detailed. So as already said, you have this conscious phase in which you perform the skill step by step, and then it's still a strategy, and then you gradually start to automatize this strategy into a fluid and smoothly performed set of steps which together form the skill, which is not so easily put into words or reproduced or whatever explained. Okay, so here we have this distinction between strategies and skills, which together form, let's say, the type of knowledge we tend to call procedural knowledge. Okay, that was that.